a new day dawning, the time is at hand, where the glory of the Lord will be revealed to every man. Open the door, open the door, open the door, and let the King of Glory in. Open the door, open the door, open the door, and let the King of Glory in.
All right. Open up the door starts right now. So fling wide, you heavenly gates. Prepare the way of the risen Lord. The Apostle John was on the island of Patmos. He was in prison for the testimony of Jesus Christ. And he heard a sound behind him, and he said, Behold, I looked, and there was a door standing open in heaven. And I heard a voice which was like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, Come up here, and I will show you the things which must take place. That's what we need, my friends. We need a heavenly perspective of the things that are going on in the world around us. The things that the Word of God foretold us would come to pass. Those things which must take place. Those things which are taking place even now. That is what this broadcast is all about, discussing the issues of the day and discerning the times in which we live from a biblical perspective and worldview. Good afternoon, everybody. What you are about to hear is the fusion of heart, mind, and soul. And I am your host of Open Up the Doors, Andy White, and I just want to welcome everybody from all across the fruited plain and all around the spherical globe. Thanks for tuning in for this week's edition of Open Up the Doors. Hey, do me a favor if you are listening, and if you are able to watch, I am streaming live on my Facebook page over at Facebook.com/FaithFM 91.7, like I always do. But I'm trying an experiment today, too. For the first time ever, I'm also broadcasting this broadcast on YouTube Live. So if you have a YouTube channel, go on over. If you've never subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe and pass this around and invite people to open up the doors, like the Facebook page. If you've never liked it before, I would appreciate that so much. If you would like to email me, you can email me as well at ajwhite777@icloud.com. It's ajwhite777@icloud.com. And I am, of course, looking for an interactive experience as much as possible during the course of the broadcast here. So I need for you, the audience, to be actively engaged. Shoot me some questions, shoot me some comments, shoot me some insights over there in the comment streams, both on YouTube Live and on Facebook Live. And I'll address anything that I'm able to as the broadcast advances. You know, folks, there's so much going on, and I want to jump right into it. And I'll be honest with you, this broadcast is going to be difficult because I just may wind up rambling a lot today and ranting. Now, the ranting's probably not so unusual. I've been told from some people that I'm a ranter. I don't know if I like that or not. Sometimes I have good rants. Sometimes I just rant. But I'm definitely going to be rambling today because there's just so much stuff to talk about. It's got my head spinning. But let me begin this way just to set the tone and the atmosphere, really what I want to get at. Most of us, I think, are familiar with a famous incident and a quote from Benjamin Franklin after Benjamin Franklin had left Independence Hall at the close of the Constitutional Convention in 1787. It was reported, historical fact, that a lady approached him, and a lady asked Dr. Franklin, quote, "Well, doctor, what have we got? What kind of government have you given us? A republic or a monarchy?" And Benjamin Franklin replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." Well, folks, I need to tell you, sadly, from all appearances, we are a nation on the brink of not being able to keep our republic. It appears to me that we are a nation on the brink of losing our republic, on the brink of losing our freedoms and our liberties that were enshrined in our Constitution. We are a nation on the brink of self-destruction and national catastrophe on so many different levels, my friends. And everything from equity and equal justice under the law, to our religious liberties and rights and freedom of speech, along with our Second Amendment rights. All the things contained in the Bill of Rights, so painstakingly hammered out in 1787, they're all hanging by a thread, a very thin thread, my friends. A republic, if you can keep it. A major component of maintaining a republic is the exercise of free speech. In fact, it was in the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, the right to free speech, the right of a free press, the right of freedom of religion, the right to petition the government. But the major thing there, a major component to maintaining a republic, of course, is the exercise of free speech within the marketplace of ideas. And as we are all very much aware, I'm sure, of course, especially for those of you who have been paying attention, especially for those of you who are regular listeners to this broadcast, free speech has been under attack by the radical left in our country for quite a long time now, and it's getting worse by the day. This attack under free speech began, under the guise of the euphemism called political correctness. It further metastasized under the fallacious rubric called quote-unquote hate speech. And now free speech finds itself engulfed in a full-blown battle with a cancer that is totalitarian fascism, my friends. A recent poll and study, which I'm going to get to later in the broadcast in more detail, but just to mention a little bit of what I want to get into today, because I want to talk about the attack on free speech. I want to talk about the attack on equity and justice and the debacle that we're seeing going on in D.C. right now with this impeachment inquiry. It is a travesty. I'm gonna bop around today and tie some things together. But just very quickly, a recent poll that was done showed that college kids believe the First Amendment right to free speech should be abridged and amended. It's crazy. Like I said, I'm going to get to that later on. But first, I want to comment on the carnival charade that is going on in D.C., because this phony impeachment hearing is a travesty of the Constitution. You know, back in the Bush administration days, the leftists who were against the Iraqi war had their quote-unquote Bush lied and people died mantra. Remember that, folks? Bush lied and people died. Well, if this scam today and this charade today that the Democrats are perpetuating upon the American people succeeds, we will need to update that mantra to Schiff lied and the Republic died. That's right, my friends. We need to update the mantra should they be successful. And of course, I'm hoping they're not. But what's going on in D.C., my friends, it is an abomination. I'm going to flat out say it. It's more than just lies and a charade. It's a fabrication and an abomination. And these Democratic leaders, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Jerry Nadler, Chuck Schumer, the entire Democratic leadership, and I'm talking about the leadership. I have some Democratic friends that aren't crazy like these people, but I am talking about the party's leadership and where they're bringing this once great American party. But they are a corrupt cabal of pathological liars. And every single thing, my friends, that they have accused Trump of doing, they have done themselves and have covered up their malfeasance themselves in the corruption that is within the DNC. And they are fabricating. I want you to hear me this afternoon, because these people, along with their sycophant allies in the mainstream media, they're fabricating crimes that don't exist in order to cover up for the crimes and corruptions that they themselves have committed. And don't take my word for it. No, don't take my word for it. Listen to Alan Dershowitz, who I will quote in a moment. Alan Dershowitz, who is by no means a Trump-supporting, MAGA hat-wearing conservative. He has been a lifelong Democrat who voted for both Obama and Hillary. But as I've said in the past, at least Alan Dershowitz, he's an honest liberal, and he's a fair-minded lawyer. Teaches law, or taught law. I don't know if he still does. I don't know if he retired. But he was the law professor, I believe, at Harvard. Yes, he is. He's the Harvard law professor. But he's the one, not just me. He's the one who says that these Democrats are inventing crimes. He sees what's going on in this nation, and it concerns him as an honest, patriotic liberal. Alan Dershowitz, just the other day in a radio broadcast, warned that Americans should be, quote unquote, frightened by the House's impeachment investigation. And he accused the Democrats of trying to, quote, create crimes out of nothing. And he's flat out right. Mr. Dershowitz went on to say, whether you're from New York or in the middle of the country, you should be frightened by efforts at trying to create crimes out of nothing. Dershowitz was saying this on a Sunday talk radio show in New York. He said that I spent the afternoon yesterday, that would have been last Saturday. He said, I spent the afternoon searching the federal criminal statutes from beginning to end. Now remember, this guy's a law professor. He taught law at Harvard for many, many years. And again, I'm not sure if he retired or if he's still there teaching. But some of these clowns over at MSNBC or CNN, where is Jeffrey Toobin? I think he's on CNN. Jeffrey Toobin, who is a political hack, who is the law commentator over at MSNBC. I think it's CNN. Jeffrey Toobin. He makes me crazy, that guy. But he studied under Alan Dershowitz. Jeffrey Toobin was Alan Dershowitz's student in law school. And I'm sure that, in fact, I've heard them get back and forth with each other. Though they will have a mutual courteous respect for each other, I've heard Alan Dershowitz says that he shakes his head sometimes when he hears his former students say the things he says. But I digress a little bit. But Alan Dershowitz the other day on this radio talk show, he said, I spent Saturday afternoon searching the federal criminal statutes from beginning to end, and I couldn't find the crime. You see, to impeach a president, you need high crimes and misdemeanors, but there aren't any. They're fabricating them out of whole cloth. They're twisting the narrative. They're being just out and out duplicitous liars. And Mr. Dershowitz said, in a desperate effort to find crimes committed by President Trump, they're just making it up. And that means we are all in danger. Thank you, Mr. Dershowitz, coming from a liberal Democrat who's honest, not just a conservative here. They're making it up. And it should frighten you. But more than frighten you, my friends, it should make you angry. Because as I said a moment ago, every single thing that they have accused President Trump of doing, they have done themselves and covered it up themselves. In fact, I think this whole impeachment thing is really just a cover-up, again, for their own malfeasance. I mean, listen, let me go down, let me take a stroll down memory lane. You see, remember when President Obama got caught on a hot mic telling the Russian President Medvedev, quote, tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility after the election. But that's not investigated as collusion. Former President Obama, can use taxpayer dollars to interfere in the Israeli election, which was illegal, and he did it. But that's not called collusion or interference in a foreign power's election, because you see here, folks, we have selective outrage. We have selective prosecution. Hillary. Let me go back to President Obama, because there's a list here. President Obama, this one really takes the cake. Right now, Adam Schiff is trying to impeach President Trump under the guise of quote-unquote bribery. You notice they changed the terminology the other day from high crimes and misdemeanors to bribery. Oh, excuse me. Remember when President Obama secretly sent, literally pallets of cash, circumventing international law to Iran in order to secure a nuclear deal. Hello, but that's not investigated as a quid pro quo? That's not investigated as bribery? No, 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 no. Don't do as I say. Or how does that saying go? Don't do as I do, do as I say. Hillary can pay Fusion GPS millions of dollars in campaign funds to use a foreign agent named Christopher Steele to produce a fraudulent dossier of sleaze to smear Trump during a campaign. But that's not investigated, even though it's actually the crime they tried to accuse Trump of. Oh, Robert Mueller during his hearings on the collusion thing, where they found nothing, there was no collusion. When he was asked about Fusion GPS, this was totally unbelievable. Fusion GPS was at the center of the Steele dossier, and he claimed under oath he wasn't familiar with Fusion GPS. That had I won't even go there. Again, I'm going to digress. But how is it that Hillary can collude, I'll use their word, collude with the Ukrainians to dig up dirt on Trump and use the Ukrainians to interfere with the election in 2016? But hey, there's nothing to see here, folks. And by the way, what I just referenced, that actually was the investigation that Trump was referencing in his call with the Ukrainian president back in July. The investigation that was done by CrowdStrike on our side into the hacked DNC servers. But there was also a Ukrainian investigation that was being conducted on the Ukrainian side, which the mainstream media never seems to bring up. But this was reported by Politico back in January 2017, right after Trump's inauguration. Politico, again, not a conservative right-wing paper or magazine by any stretch of the imagination. But Politico, back in 2017, the headline, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. And then the subtitle of that article was, Kiev officials are scrambling to make amends with the president-elect after quietly working to boost Clinton. Hello? Where is this report in the media? Because this is what Trump was asking the new Ukrainian president to investigate, which I'll get into in a minute. But the Politico article back from January 2017, Donald Trump wasn't the only presidential candidate whose campaign was boosted by officials of a former Soviet bloc country. Ukrainian government officials tried to help Hillary Clinton and undermine Trump by publicly questioning his fitness for office. They also disseminated documents implicating a top Trump aide in corruption, which was Paul Manafort, and suggested they were investigating the matter, only to back away after the election. That line in Politico from 2017 is very important, my friends. They said they were investigating the matter only to back away after Trump won. That was the investigation that President Trump was asking the Ukrainian, the new president, to look into. It was not an illegal request. It was not a quid pro quo request. Here is the fact of the matter. We have a treaty with Ukraine signed by Bill Clinton during the Clinton years that allows our two countries to cooperate with each other in mutual investigations. But you never hear this from the Democrats. You never hear this from the mainstream media. Let me get back to the Politico article. The Ukrainians helped Clinton's allies research damaging information on Trump and his advisors, a Politico investigation found. Again, not a right-wing newspaper, not Fox News. Politico's investigation found evidence of Ukrainian government involvement in the race that appears to strain diplomatic protocol, dictating that governments refrain from engaging in one another's elections. That Ukrainian investigation sent two Ukrainian public officials were prosecuted for the election meddling on behalf of the Clinton campaign. Again, you never hear about this. This is what Trump was asking the new president to look into. because of the corruption, because these things were never resolved. We've been told for the last 3 years that the Democrats were concerned about election meddling. Only on Trump's side, which proved to be false, but never the real meddling that was going on the Democrat side, because that is what they're trying to cover up. Where's the investigation of that by the Dems? Again, that is what Trump was referencing in that phone call. And I'll say it again. He had every right to do it as a president of the United States, because we have a treaty with the Ukrainians to cooperate in investigations. And when Alan Dershowitz says that the Democrats are simply making up crimes, he's 100% correct. And then, of course, there is, at the eye of the storm, the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden affair. Again, let's not talk about that. Again, now it's a conspiracy theory. But Joe Biden actually did a quid pro quo that he boasted about. It's on video where he says to the Ukrainians, to the former Ukrainian president, fire that prosecutor, the prosecutor that was investigating Burisma Holdings, where his son worked. Fire that prosecutor or you won't get the $1 billion. Again, the Democrats keep completely dismissing that, saying, no, that was nothing. But this is exactly what they're saying Trump did. Ukraine's new president, Zelensky, told President Trump in July that he plans to launch his own wide-ranging investigation into what happened with the Bidens and Burisma and the 2016 election interference, because there was so much corruption and everybody knows it. What President Donald Trump did in this situation with that phone call is what the Democrats are trying to do with it, twisting it and manipulating it. It's outrageous. President Zelensky told President Trump, I'm knowledgeable about the situation. And the issue of the investigation of the case is actually the issue of making sure to restore the honesty in our government. So we will take care of that, and we will work on the investigation of that case, because the new president has vowed in Ukraine to uproot what he called the deep state in Ukraine, what he called the corruption in Ukraine. Again, when President Trump's phone call was perfect, and sometimes we laugh at the way he says things. He can be very comical. My phone call was perfect, but he's not making it up. It was totally legitimate. The corruption and the cover-up is on the DNC side of the charts, my friends. It's off the charts. And I really could go on and on and on, pointing out the utter hypocrisy of their corruption and actual crimes, but I most definitely would run out of time. But I want to tell you this, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors coming from the Democratic three-ring circus. But just watch what happens when the flash pots blow up in their faces. I'll be right back, folks. Stick around. I got a lot more. Here's Plum with a tune called Hang On.
Hang on when the water is rising. Hang on.
Hang On. A tune by Plum. Welcome back. Andy White here. You are listening to Open Up the Doors here on Faith FM, WEGB 90.7 and 93.3 in Napeague, WEGQ 91.7 in Quag. And I am here, penetrating the unseen powers of darkness. Yes, I am. By simply speaking the light of truth. And I am sending powers and principalities into frothy fits of frenzy. But I need to say this, because it's just probably one of those types of broadcasts that I'm doing today. But the views expressed by the host of this show, namely me, are molded by the Word of God along with the empirical evidence, both experiential and observational, which is lived out by me on a daily basis. And these views may not necessarily be the views of Faith FM or its associates, but they're my views. But they're not necessarily the views of Faith FM radio. So if you'd like to discuss these views, you can email me at ajwhite777@icloud.com. That's ajwhite777@icloud.com if you would like to correspond with me, considering the things I am sharing on the broadcast. I opened up the broadcast speaking about an incident in Benjamin Franklin's life when he left the Constitutional convention when he left Independence Hall. And I came across another quote, which I'd never seen before till the other night. And this quote just blew me away. It blew me away on a lot of different levels. Here's the thing. Benjamin Franklin wrote in 1722. Now, in 1722, Benjamin Franklin was a teenager. Let that sink in. I'm going to tell you what he said. The depth of what he said. The substance of what he said. And then think about where sadly and unfortunately, where our present day educational system is. But in 1722, when he was a teenager, Benjamin Franklin wrote, quote, "In those wretched countries where a man cannot call his tongue his own, he can scarce call anything his own. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech." He said that as a teenager. Some, I don't know, 60, 70 years later is when he said, "We've given you a republic if you can keep it." What a brilliant man Ben Franklin truly was. Oh yeah, he had his quirks and he had his failings, like we all do. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech. We are seeing an assault on free speech, my friends, in this country like we have never seen before. You see, because when the globalists and the socialist leftists can't win in the marketplace of ideas, they seek to shut down that marketplace. As has been said many times over, you don't fight hate speech with less speech. You fight it with more speech. But that is precisely the problem in a leftist totalitarian worldview. They don't want more speech. They only want their speech. You either toe the line of what they find acceptable, or you will be silenced and shut down. And it is a sad day in America when you have presidential candidates calling for the silencing of their political opponents, like Kamala Harris, who's been going around saying she wants Twitter to shut down President Trump's Twitter account. That's outrageous. I don't care if you hate Trump. I don't care if you think he's an idiot. I don't care if you think he can't spell. I don't care what you think about him. To shut down the president's Twitter account is outrageous, coming from a presidential candidate. But this is their worldview. It's a sad day, my friends, in America, when a majority of college students think the First Amendment of freedom of speech and freedom of the press ought to be struck down or at least amended. A study recently conducted by the Campaign for Free Speech found that some 51% of people in the U.S. believe that the First Amendment, that the Constitution that was hammered and forged back in 1791. Well, 1791 is when the Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution. But 51% of people today believe it should be updated to reflect the cultural norms of today. No, that's not what a right is. Rights don't change. God-given rights do not change because of the mores of the day, my friends. But nearly 60% of millennials, those between 21 to 38 years old, according to this survey, said they believe the Constitution, quote, goes too far in allowing hate speech in America. That's just simply the problem. I called the hate speech a fallacious rubric earlier in the broadcast today, because that's what it is. Because what is hate speech? A lot of people right now think I'm speaking hate speech in their minds. It is a arbitrary and capricious standard. But this poll is alarming. 48% of Generation X and 47% of baby boomers agree that the First Amendment should be abridged. A majority of millennials said hate speech should be a crime, with more than half of those saying it should carry jail time. Oh, my friends, be careful what you wish for. About 60% of respondents also want to curb freedom of the press, saying the government should be able to take action against media outlets that publish biased, inflammatory, or false content. Welcome to the Soviet Union, my friends. Welcome to the days of Pravda. Welcome to every totalitarian system. Welcome to Erdogan's Turkey, where there are more journalists thrown into prison than in any other nation in the world. Welcome. And it's happening here in America, being taught in our universities and colleges, the leaders of the future, the leaders of tomorrow. Those who would change the First Amendment say free speech is a value rather than a right. Wrong. And so it can change as society's values change. This is where we're at, my friends. This is why Benjamin Franklin said, a republic, if you can keep it. Conservative commentator Dennis Prager said this, quote, never in American history has there been as strong a threat to freedom of speech as there is today. That's one of the few things all Americans virtually always agreed on, at least in the past. And it's almost unbelievable, but almost half of the millennials don't believe in free speech for hate speech, which really means they don't believe in free speech because everybody thinks the other guy has hate speech, Dennis Prager said in a recent interview in Charisma News magazine, by the way. Folks, free speech may not be put to death tomorrow, but it's in the battle of its life right now. And the leftists have their hands on the throat of free speech, and they are tightening their grip every single day and in every way they possibly can. The attack on free speech and freedom of expression, it's coming from a lot of different directions, my friends. This past week, where am I time-wise? Let me look at this here. This past week, the Facebook page of conservative author David Harris was unpublished last Friday. According to an article in Reclaim the Net, the report says that Harris's page was taken down after warnings of community standard violations. Well, what he was doing was and I'm going to get to that in a moment because I'm going to get back to the whole thing with the impeachment. But what this guy was doing was reporting on the name Eric. What's his last name? Eric Chiamella. It's like a chia pet. Eric Chiamella. This guy's name has been out in the public domain now for several weeks, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But his Facebook page was taken down because he mentioned the name of the quote-unquote alleged whistleblower. Another conservative targeted by Facebook last Friday was Erica Garcia, a young Republican leader in Central Florida, because in an interview with The Blaze, Garcia said she posted photos, and I saw some of those photos, of Eric Chiamella. Got to get this guy's name from. It's Eric Chiamella posing with this guy. Eric Chiamella was posing with Senator Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And she posted these pictures on her personal Facebook page, and within an hour, the post was taken down by Facebook. She posted it again on the Florida Republicans' Facebook page, and it was taken down. Folks, this is outrageous, and it's alarming, because anyone who's been paying attention knows that the name of the fake, not a real whistleblower, DNC operative's name, as I said a moment ago, it's been in the media for weeks now. And on top of that, he's not even legally nor technically, as defined by the whistleblower statute, a real whistleblower. But the Dems and the media have designated him as such as part of their scam on the American people. Eric Chiamella is a DNC operative who works in the CIA, and he has been an advocate and a supporter of Joe Biden for years. Everyone knows who the whistleblower is, and the Dems are utterly lying with their propaganda allies in the liberal media by saying that they don't know what his name is. They're lying through their teeth, my friends. Absolutely lying through their teeth. And Facebook has been scrubbing posts and taking down articles that mention the not a real whistleblower's name from across Facebook. And they're doing it They're doing it under the guise that they want to protect him. But no, 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 my friends, hear me out. They want to protect themselves. They're afraid if this guy testifies publicly under oath, he might actually blow the whistle on them. It's not Eric Caramella. It's not Eric Caramella. I can't get his name out. Eric Chiamella's name. It's not Eric Chiamella's butt that they're covering. It's their butts. In any case, just yesterday, Rand Paul publicly called for Eric Chiamella's testimony in front of the impeachment inquiry. He said yesterday in a radio broadcast, Rand Paul did, I think Eric Chiamella needs to be pulled in for testimony. He is a person of interest in the sense that he was at the Ukraine desk when Joe Biden was there, when Hunter Biden was working for the Ukrainian oligarch. So simply for that alone, he is a material witness who needs to be brought in. But you see, Adam Schiff yesterday denied during the hearing knowing who the whistleblower is. That someone could be such a bold-faced pathological liar in a congressional hearing is utterly blood-curdling, my friends. Because it is an indisputable fact reported by the New York Times back in early October that the so-called whistleblower met with Adam Schiff's aides and staff before he submitted the whistleblowing complaint. Adam Schiff, this guy, he is what an abject liar. Lying comes completely and utterly natural to him. This guy, I'm going to tell you something. This guy could pass a polygraph test with flying colors telling the most outrageous lies. You know why? Because lying is so natural to him, there wouldn't be any physiological biometrics that would change that would set off the polygraph. Schiff had previously stated for weeks and weeks and weeks back in August, September, Schiff was saying that he was committed, that he wanted to have the whistleblower, Eric Chiamella, come in and testify. But since that time, he's changed his mind. Since it was found out and reported by the New York Times that his staff met with him, because Schiff has been lying all the time, saying they never did. And Schiff has been going back and forth on this. And he abruptly changed from repeatedly insisting on the testimony of Eric Chiamella to now working to prevent it, because he doesn't want him to testify under oath, my friends. Again, it is an outrageous scam that's going on. It is outrageous. It is unconstitutional. They might be calling it constitutional, but they're a scam. 19 minutes. I got to go to a break really quick, but I want to get this in here. 19 minutes after Donald Trump was sworn in as America's 45th president in 2017, the Washington Post published a headline on its website, quote, "The campaign to impeach President Trump has begun." Let that sink in. 19 minutes after Donald Trump was sworn in, the campaign to impeach President Trump has begun. Oh, and here's a real juicy piece of information for those of you who have not heard this. Eric Chiamella's lawyer, a guy by the name of Mark Zane, tweeted back in 2017, quote, "The coup has begun." The coup has begun. He tweeted that. And impeachment will follow. As I said at the top of this broadcast, this impeachment travesty is an abomination. It's a fabrication. Let's use their word. It's a coup. Zane tweeted back then, "The coup has started. It's the first of many steps. Rebellion." This is Eric Chiamella's lawyer, the whistleblower. Last week, former acting CIA chief John McLaughlin said, "Thank God for the deep state," while appearing on a panel at George Mason University. Thank God for the deep state. A year ago, the deep state was routinely reviled as a figment of the paranoid right-wingers' imagination. We were mocked for saying there was a deep state. Now they're celebrating it. What they once denied and mocked conservatives for, they are openly applauding now. New York Times article last month said the deep state has emerged. There is a deep state. There is a bureaucracy in our country who has pledged to respect the Constitution, respect the rule of law, protecting the American people. That's utter insanity. They're not protecting the Constitution. They're unelected bureaucrats subverting the Constitution, trying to undermine and commit a coup against a duly elected president. This is utter insanity, my friends. If this stuff doesn't make your blood boil as an American citizen, you're not realizing the ramifications and consequences if the deep state gets away with this abomination and travesty. If they get away with this, my friends, we've lost our republic. Stick around. I'll be right back. Here's Matt Redman.
Can a nation be changed?
The fusion of heart, mind, and soul. This is Open Up the Doors with Andy White here on Faith FM. WEGB 90.7 and 93.3 in Napi. WEGQ 91.7 in Quag. Thanks for joining in, everybody. All across the fruited plain. I got a couple of more minutes left here on this week's edition of Open Up the Doors. I am streaming live over on my Facebook page, over on my Open Up the Doors Facebook page at facebook.com/faithfm 91.7. I'm also, for the first time ever, streaming live on my YouTube channel, kind of by way of an experiment to see how that works out. And if you've never subscribed to my YouTube channel, please just go Google it, Andy White, Open Up the Doors. It'll come up, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as liking the Open Up the Doors Facebook page if you've never done that either. But I am definitely trying to do a promotion with YouTube, in large measure because of some of the things I've been talking about, the suppression of free speech and how a lot of us conservatives and Christians are being deplatformed across Facebook and on YouTube as well. But I need to really start branching out into different avenues, which I'll actually get to in a moment a little bit. I got a few minutes left. Listen to this. I came across this last night. Times editorial writer, somebody named by Michelle Cottle, proclaimed, quote, "The deep state is alive and well." The deep state, and she said, there is a deep state. It's a bureaucracy in our country who has pledged to respect the Constitution, respect the rule of law, and respect and protect the American people. I'm shaking my head over that, because since they have to admit what they formerly denied, that the deep state exists, now they're trying to turn them into true patriots. Not people who are trying to undermine our Constitution, but now they want to flip the narrative and say, oh no, these are the true patriots who are upholding the Constitution. But no, my friends, they are trampling the Constitution. They are not elected. They are bureaucrats who are trying to wage a coup, as I said a moment ago, against a duly elected president that they simply do not like. That's not patriotism. That's treason. And they're trying to shut us down. They're trying to shut down the voice of opposition against them, conservative voices, Christian voices. And unfortunately, in many ways, they control the reins of power when it comes to the airwaves, when it comes to the mainstream access. And it's bad out there. And as bad as it is here, over across the pond in the UK, it's even worse. The attack on free speech is even worse there. Just yesterday, the UK Daily Mail, concerns have been raised over a culture of conformity on Britain's university campuses after a poll found up to half the students failed to support free speech. Very similar to what was going on here in America. A very similar situation. I want to move on, because that's this article in the UK really was reflective and really was an echo and a shadow of the same poll that was done here. In fact, they even said it was a lot of it was inspired by here, by the poll that was taken here, the campaign for free speech poll that I cited in the last block. But over in the UK, in Britain, one of the things that the study said was that students approve of bans of speakers whose views differ from their own. Facebook is shutting down conservatives. YouTube is deplatforming conservatives like Dennis Prager. I found out the other day a page that I like, that I get a lot of my information from, even for this broadcast, a page called Armageddon News. The founder of Armageddon News was banned for life from Facebook the other day for posting stuff exposing Islam. You see, the attack against free speech is coming from a lot of different directions. It's coming from the radical leftists, but it's also coming from those who don't want Islam exposed, which, by the way, these people are working together. These people are working, they're holding hands. I've talked about that in the past, and I'm running out of time. I don't want to get into that right now again. But it's disgusting. It's really disgusting, and it's really deplorable what the leftists are doing to this country. And I have to wonder, I really do have to wonder how much more time Open Up the Doors has left on Facebook. It does concern me to a certain degree. But know this, I will not relent until they physically take me down like they've taken down these other people. But how much longer will Open Up the Doors on Facebook survive? Only God knows. As I said a moment ago, I am over at USA.com, but there's not much traffic there. But here's the thing. The libs are forcing the Christians and the conservatives into ghettos in a lot of ways. They're taking us off these platforms, and we've got to start going out into other platforms like USA.com and I know MeWe's out there, and I saw one the other day that I'm going to check out, that LifeSite News has just started a social media platform that I'm going to look into. But here's the thing. The point of being on Facebook, at least for me, is access to the world at large to reach the gospel to the lost. That really is one of the main reasons I'm on Facebook, to get the message of Jesus Christ out to the largest audience possible. And, you know, I hate to I'd hate to acquiesce to what these people are trying to do to us, but we do have to find ways of broadening the base, so to speak, because the assault on free speech is absolutely real, and we've got to push back and fight back as much as we can, or we're losing our republic. As I said, we're on the brink, my friends, and the insanity is real. It's really unbelievable. I never thought I'd see our country get to the place that it's getting to. I really haven't. These people, they want to squelch our freedom of speech. They want to squelch our freedom of expression. They want to push us out of the marketplace of ideas because they only want their ideas to be submitted to. But these social media platforms should advance freedom of speech. Yet too many Americans have seen their accounts suspended and banned and or fraudulently reported on for unclear, quote-unquote, violations of user policies. What's going on in this nation, my friends, is chilling as an American to me. It's very chilling. And I just have to wonder, I really do wonder how much longer any of our Christian groups and pages will be allowed on any of the major platforms. I'm sure only the ones that toe the line. I'm sure only the ones that will acquiesce. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups on Facebook. Well, Facebook groups, that makes sense, right? Facebook groups. Some of these groups won't. I got a notification from a group a couple of weeks back saying they weren't going to post my broadcast because it was, quote unquote, I won't say who the group is, quote unquote, too political. And I just, folks, that just, as I've shared so many times, that makes me just shake my head. They said they because Facebook is cracking down on political, quote unquote, speech and conservative speech, they want to stay away from it on their Christian group so they don't get shut down. That's acquiescing, my friends. That's absolutely acquiescing. It's raising the white flag of surrender. And as I said many times, number one, my broadcasts aren't political, they're biblical. The things that are going on in the world around us are nothing less than the determinations of the living God, as I've said so many times. But get ready, people, because there really are dark days ahead for this nation. And the storm clouds are gathering, and the storm clouds are approaching. And we could very well be on the precipice of losing our republic. We're on the brink of losing our republic. But having said that, my friends, my hope isn't in this world system anyway, because we are also on the brink of something much more glorious and much more eternal. And my eyes are fixed upon that, and my heart is longing for that city whose builder and maker is God. So fix your eyes on our hope, beloved, knowing that the time is near. For our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. So fix your eyes on the author and perfecter of our faith. I gotta run, I'm out of time. This is one of those shows I wish I had 2 hours.